So thank you
No problem.
very
No
much
problem.
for taking the time to speak with me. And we just want to start by, let's talk about you and your background and how did you end up to be the founder and president of the National Resistance Front of Afghanistan?
Thank you so much, and thanks so much for having me. Well, to begin with, I grew up in Afghanistan, and then to study for the education, I went to the UK and studied in the UK. I went to King's College in the City University, London. After that, my desire from the very beginning was to return to my country. I returned to Afghanistan in 2016 and starting doing humanitarian work. Absolutely. However, in 2019, when the things started to deteriorate, I entered politics solely to do something to prevent a catastrophe. Unfortunately, it was a little too late, and the catastrophe happened. And after that, on 15th of August, after all the efforts that we put into acknowledging the catastrophe to our friends outside and also to the people inside, unfortunately, we were unable to prevent it. It all happened, and I had two choices: either to stay with my people and to leave them, abandon them. So I tried to stay, despite our many efforts to end any sort of conflict, to start negotiation, talk with the Taliban, to start peace. Unfortunately, they forced upon us to defend ourselves. They invaded us, they invaded our land, they invaded our people. So we had no choice but to defend and to stand and defend our values, defend our lands, defend our children, our women, and our very existence. So naturally, from the reaction of people for their self-defense and defending their rights, the National Resistance Front came into existence. And I didn't found it, so I'm not the president, but I'm just a part of it. The founder of it are the people of Afghanistan. The leaders of it are the people of Afghanistan. Just as this temporarily, as of now, I'm trying to do my responsibility as a patriot, as a person who loves his country, to give hope to millions of Afghans who feel abandoned, who feel hostage, who feel hopeless, who feel alone. And that's all.
So did when you went to high school in Iran?
Yes, I went to high school in Iran.
Okay, and then you went to the UK for your
Yes.
undergraduate and your master's. Did that shape your values, your beliefs going to school there?
And in Iran?
In the UK.
In the UK.
Yes, both Iran and UK.
Of course, for me, I believe that studying in the East and also studying in the West, I was blessed to have the opportunity to study in both uh, civilizations or both sorts of places. I try to get the good of the both and try to basically to bring the best medicine for my country, what is good for my country. For example, in the East, the compassion, the spirituality, the literature, and the sort of unity, and all of those things were the things which we learned from the time that I spent in high school in Iran and the East. And then learning about the democracy, about the freedom, about the social justice, about the political justice, about a political system which brings the social justice, which brings the justice in itself, and about and many other values of the modern world. I learned it from the West. So I try to bridge these two and bring something which is beneficial for my country, for my culture, for my people, which is truly something that the people uh, believe in, the people want, and the people decide. In my opinion, that is truly a system which the people are the center of it and the power of it, and they are the one who make the decision of their own future and of their own fate. So this is what I learned, and of course, people are what they have been brought up or and thought. So I'm a piece Iran, I'm a piece Afghanistan, I'm a piece Tajikistan, I'm a piece Asia, I'm a piece Europe, I'm a piece London. So I'm patched up of all these pieces.
Yes, that's great background. So the Taliban took control of Afghanistan, and so they've been in power for about 1 year.
Yeah.
So the resistance, the Afghans, the people, the military went from fighting a counter insurgency against the Taliban to now basically being an insurgency overnight.
Yeah.
Can you go through the last year and what has developed in Afghanistan since the Taliban has taken over?
Well, basically, the most important thing to take into consideration is that what we are trying to do, or what we have been doing in the past 1 year, is the continuation of, first and foremost, the war on terror. Because what is happening to the people of Afghanistan, they are being terrorized. So, terrorized not just by the Taliban, by many, many other terrorist groups. As we are speaking, there are more than 23 terrorist groups exist in Afghanistan. So what we are doing is continuation of that long war, which the world got tired of, and they left, they abandoned us. But the evil has not left us. The instability, the terror, the brutality, it exists. Our girls cannot go to school. We don't have any educational system. We don't have any sort of acceptable good curriculum. We don't have a good economy. We don't have a government. We don't have rights. We don't have identity. So we, people of Afghanistan, deserve more than that. We're worth more than just being able to live. We are worthy of having a legitimate democratic government. We are worthy of, and our daughters are worthy of going to school and studying what they want to study, not what they're being fed to. And we need an education which a society, a civilization can be built up, not a terrorist groups. So therefore, this is the thing that we want to achieve, and this is what we have been doing. We are fighting for our fundamental rights. So for those things that I just mentioned, and yes, still, I know the struggle continues. The world might see that what we are doing this is increasing violence. It is solely, the decision of us is solely as the military sort of struggle of us is solely as a defensive measure. When the opposition and the Taliban seem to not care about anything but war and seem not to understand anything but gun, and they seem not to understand any word or not to care about any talks. So therefore, we have no choice but to defend. It is not something we like to do. It's something we have no choice. It's our last resort. He's coming, to kill us. He's coming to destroy us. Let me put it this way: you are very much aware of the brutality of ISIS. ISIS is today the face of terrorism and terror. If I ask you and your viewers, if I ask all those who are trying to differentiate between Taliban and ISIS, give me one example, one action that the Taliban do not do that the ISIS does, which makes ISIS more extreme than the Taliban. If ISIS, with same mentality, with same brutality, with same ideology, with same behavior, is causing so much pain to the people of Kobani and Iraq and Syria, if they are allowed to defend, if they are allowed to resist, why would I not be allowed to and to do it? Because the method is the same, ideology is the same, extremism is the same, brutality is the same. So therefore, it is not something we choose to do so. The girls of Kobani, they didn't want to, but they had no choice because they were coming to take them as sex slaves. It is exactly the same thing happening here. So what we are trying to do is to resist, to stand. And in the past 1 year, and this is growing, because the atrocity is growing, injustice is growing, all the promises were broken. And so the people are tired of this. and they know they're worth more than just like being able to breathe, being just servants, being just basically uh, sort of we call ra'iyat, or the people that have no rights. They have the masters. No, they don't want to be slaves. They don't want to be that. They want to be master of their own life, and they're worth it, and they deserve it. That's what we have been trying to do.
Where were you 1 year ago when this happened, when Afghanistan was still under the control of the Afghan government? How did that transpire? Can you tell me your story of how you found out what was going to happen? Did you find out in advance?
I knew that Afghanistan is going to fall a couple of years before the collapse. As I mentioned at the beginning, I tried everything in my power, traveling to the world, coming to Europe, seeing the Europeans officials, seeing Americans, seeing different, so even the region and the neighbors of Afghanistan, expressing my utmost worrying about and concern about the situation and how the fragility of the situation of Afghanistan. But unfortunately, it was in a way somehow that either they were not, you know, caring that much, or they were truly blind to the fact that it is this fragile. And I told them it is a matter of weeks, you know, after the withdrawal of the troops from Afghanistan to collapse, not even month or years. But they didn't basically accept my assessments, and we saw that even I was wrong. It happened sooner than a couple of weeks. It happened before the full withdrawal of the troops. So therefore, it happened because of various reasons. And one of the main reasons was the behavior of the world toward the Taliban. The Doha Agreement, overtaking basically ignoring the Afghanistan government, completely weakened the system and lost all the confidence uh, by the officials, by the government, and by our forces. So therefore, we are all responsible for it, from Americans to Afghan officials. However, the thing was that I tried to prevent it. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. I tried to even warn the Taliban. We all see the issues of 2 days of Afghanistan. The Taliban, I tried to tell them that the legitimacy does not come through the barrel of gun. If you want it, it happens through the people. Let's forget about what happened in the past. Let's build a new Afghanistan together. But you must walk through the path which brings legitimacy. And that is through trusting people. And that is through allowing people to pick their own future, not forcing your own ideology on people. However, they didn't listen. They continued with the same brutality. And we see after 1 year, they're having issue. We are having issue. Afghanistan is having issue. So the Taliban are uh, the main uh, people who are responsible for the catastrophe of the 2 days Afghanistan.
So when the Taliban took over and the Afghan government fled prior to that, was there an opportunity to secure that military equipment that now the Taliban is using?
Well, first and foremost, it's 87 billion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, 87 billion worth of equipments and everything. Regarding that, till the very last moment, I supported Afghanistan armed forces. I supported Afghanistan government. And I never tried to create anything beyond that. However, we had some proposals to prevent the catastrophe, which was not what we are having right now, a resistance sort of a structure, but it was a local resistance connected to the government of Afghanistan. For example, the sort of the west of Afghanistan to have its own local resistance with the local leaders of that, and are completely supported by the government under the law of the government and the constitution. And our plan was to bring people to defend themselves and their sort of their people. However, at that time, our proposal was not being heard. not by the West, not by the government of Afghanistan. And also, I was a single man and I was a citizen, so and I didn't have any authority to take anything, and I never created and I never did anything against the Afghanistan constitution. And for me, it was a holy grail. It was the holy thing for us. It was very important. So we stood by our constitution, although that the president broke it. We never broke it, and we trusted our armed forces. And I knew that with slightest support and some different method and military doctrine, we would be able to withstand. However, not the West, not the world, not the Afghan government, no one listened to the proposals, and it fell. We didn't need at that time for anything extra or outside the structure of the government of Afghanistan. We just needed a better leadership, a better doctrine, a better method of resistance and fighting against the fall. But unfortunately, it was chaotic. They had no plan whatsoever what to do.
The Afghan government had no plans of what to do at all. They had no plans, but they did see it coming far, and they saw it coming in advance that they knew the Taliban, that they knew that they would collapse.
Yeah.
So why do you think they did not secure at least the military equipment to the resistance?
Well, the thing, once again, there was no resistance back then. The resistance was created solely as a reaction of people after the fall of the Kabul, after the fall of Kabul. So at that time, I was just a politician, as sort of a civilian. That's all. And why it was not being secured to the other figures or other local, let's say, prominent figures who were able to defend their land, to defend their provinces, to defend their local sort of constituencies, I cannot answer that. It's something that the people who are responsible should have answered.
So now the Taliban does have the $87 billion worth of equipment, U.S. military equipment.
Yeah.
And are they flying them? Are they flying the helicopters? Do they know how to use that equipment?
Well, they are flying the helicopters. They are recruiting some people, and of course, some states were helping them technically for using them. However, the thing is that they also shows their incompetence. Few of the helicopters was lost. Most of the equipment, it is because of the maintenance cost, it is stopped. It's not usable no more. So those equipment, unfortunately, which was a treasure for Afghan people, it has been lost and it's in the hand of the wrong people. But even them, they cannot maintain it for very long. And so therefore it's sad to see the treasures of Afghanistan is going to waste.
How does the Taliban know how to use that equipment? Do they have other countries that are teaching them, or have some of the Afghan military members that did serve in the Afghan military, are they working with the Taliban now?
Well, the thing is that the collapse was so sudden that no one managed to escape, no one managed to get out. So a lot of personnel they were stuck in Afghanistan, and at the same time, the biometric system was not being razed or destroyed by the Americans or Afghan government. So all the detail was there. So the Taliban, unfortunately, they managed to seize all of that. So they knew who is responsible for what, who is working where. So they actually forcefully brought some pilots, some engineers, some sort of people who worked in the army before, who worked in the air force, to operate for them. And for example, in the latest event that happened between us, we shot down one of their helicopters. We captured all the personnel of that helicopter, and in that was the pilots who were, flying the Afghan armed forces many, many times, and they managed to actually, he was a part of Afghan armed forces.
The pilot was part of the Afghan forces.
Yeah, and the people who captured them were his friends. And the Afghan armed forces, and the government.
They were former Afghan forces.
They were former Afghans. So they were like, why you do it? You flew us many, many times to kill those Taliban. Now you're helping them. It's like, what can I do? My family is basically hostage in the city. If I don't cooperate, they will eliminate me and my family, and my whole family is in danger. So therefore, a lot of the cooperation which is happening, it's out of fear. They have no choice.
out of fear, and that's what's happening. So have former Afghan military members, they are joining the Taliban, but majority it's out of fear because they have no
Absolutely.
option.
Absolutely.
So now, prior to 9/11, September 11th, you saw, like in 1999, you saw the nexus between Al Qaeda and the Taliban forming, which led up to 9/11. What do you think do you see a threat coming out of Afghanistan, like a 9/11 with these, the terrorist training? Can you expand on the terrorist threat that is coming out of Afghanistan now?
Of course. One thing is that probably we are not going to see it anytime soon because by anytime soon, I mean in the next maybe like 1 or 2 years. But in the near future, let's say in 3, 4, 5 years, surely they're regrouping, they're recruiting, they're strengthening themselves, and also now they feel like whatever they do, no one will come. There is no intention like the first time the war on terror sort of initiative. The America will never act against us, or like the world will never act against us. Now they're much more, emboldened than before, and so they will regroup. Still, they're at the stage of preparation, but their danger and threat is very much real, and we called this, and we said it months before the attack on Zawahiri that Al Qaeda exists in Afghanistan. It's a real threat in Afghanistan, and no one listened. And then the Zawahiri targeting happened, and everyone was like, "Oh, Al Qaeda was in Afghanistan." We said it before. So just like right now, I'm saying that Al Qaeda pretty much exists, is regrouping. It is the new blood is flowing through their veins, new faces, new generation is coming, much more even probably extreme. And at the same time, it is just one of them. They are the teachers of many other terrorist groups. As we are speaking, there are 23 terrorist groups across Afghanistan, and the instructor of them are the Al Qaeda.
So 23 terrorist groups are in Afghanistan right now. How many foreign fighters do you think have come into Afghanistan just since the fall of Afghanistan?
Thousands.
Thousands have come into Afghanistan. And you have 23. How many terrorist groups did you have prior to the fall of Afghanistan?
Before the fall, probably it was much less than this. I don't have the exact number of that because at that time that was not my area of working. But since the fall, it is very much known that 23 terrorist groups exist in Afghanistan. Before that, majority of them they were in Pakistan, but now the safe haven is in Afghanistan. They all came in.
So what is the relationship between Al Qaeda, Haqqani Network, which is a designated UN terrorist organization and a designated US terrorist organization, and ISIS with the Taliban?
The relationship of the Taliban, let's not differentiate between the Haqqani and the Taliban. The Taliban,
The Haqqani and the Taliban are one, is what you're saying.
absolutely. Don't you think they're the same?
The Haqqani Network is a designated UN and US terrorist organization.
Let me tell you something. Sometimes
Explain that.
yeah, sometimes these things it's very funny. For example, I know sometimes some figures they say that the Taliban are compared to the ISIS or moderate one. It just shocks me. I challenge whoever say they are moderate to give me one example to show their moderation and compared to the ISIS, something that they don't do, which the ISIS does, which makes them more extreme. Just like that, when it comes to the sort of the Haqqani, that we try to differentiate between Taliban and Haqqani. The Haqqani is the deputy of the Taliban's leadership. He is the Haqqani's leader, Sirajuddin, is the interim minister of the Taliban's government. And they probably are the stronger part of the Taliban's regime. And to some extent, actually less extreme than the rest of them. And the thing is that sometimes we truly try to confuse ourselves. Let's not be confused. They're the same. The Taliban ideology and belief are the same as Afghanis, and they're the same. And they always say that we are the same, but we say no, 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 you're not. You're different. They claim it. They say we are not different. We are one. we're one family, we're one body. But we try to say, no, the Haqqani group is different than the other. We should treat them the same, they are the same. And then, regarding to come to question, it is the relationship between Al Qaeda and the Taliban, or the relationship of a teacher and a student, and the relationship of a mentor and a student. It's unbreakable, it's based on the ideology, and it will not be gone. And it is something uh, which will continue, and it will basically make it much more even and articulate, much more complicated, and the whole relationship is growing faster than before. It's based on the ideology.
What countries are funding the Taliban?
Well, as we're speaking, probably America, because they're sending $40 million every week, which is empowering Taliban.
$40 million every week that they're sending through humanitarian aid.
They're giving it to the Afghanistan bank, and then there is no measure to truly, sort of. Once again, one thing, the humanitarian aspect of it, we very much appreciate it. We are very much grateful for it. However, some support like this 40 million every week with no monitoring, no entity to really watch it, and transparently, it is empowering Tommy. Let me tell you something. In the uh, in the time of the Republic, American, when they were giving fund to the Afghanistan Republic, Afghanistan income must have been reported to the Americans transparently. How much Afghanistan's annual income is from the exports, from the everything, all its sort of national income. They had to actually unveil it to Americans transparently, so they would allow some of the support. How? I'm pretty sure the Taliban are not doing it. They're not saying all the money they receive from the ports, from the cities, the taxes and everything, how they're spending it, how they still receive the rest of the money, the support. So this is something which truly shows that, unfortunately, I believe that the policy is very weak. It is not well thought of, and America needs to pay more attention to the situation in Afghanistan, as humanitarian support should not lead to empowerment of Taliban or other terrorist groups. Already, its equipment is empowering them, and their funds should not add to that empowerment. So, therefore, one of the ways that they're funding themselves is this. Another way is narcotic, opium. Is still, they very much use it. It's very much active, and this business is growing. The recent release of the Escobar of Afghanistan, or Escobar of Asia, the Haji Bashir, which was captured in New York, his release will even increase it furthermore. So therefore, there are many ways that they're funding themselves, from countries to narcotics to opium to all.
And the opium was there throughout the last 20 years as well, right? That
Yeah.
never stopped. So
Yeah.
that's another way that they're being funded.
Yeah.
So the humanitarian aid, when the U.S. gives money through USAID, does it get to the people of Afghanistan, or does it have to go through the Taliban? How does it get distributed?
This is the thing that needs to truly be elaborated and explained by those who are doing it. I also do not possess the sort of the information in this, and also I request a transparency in this regard, because people, I know a lot of people who are suffering and they have not received anything, and I know people who are supporters of Taliban, they received 18 times more.
That our supporters of the Taliban are getting 18 times more.
Yeah.
So tell us about the National Resistance Front of Afghanistan, and what is your vision for Afghanistan?
Our vision is very simple. Our vision is to have a sovereign, to have an independent state, and to have a government which is elected by the people of Afghanistan. As simple as that. That's all our goal. And if the Taliban agree to this important fact that the decision makers of Afghanistan are the people of Afghanistan, and they should elect, then we would be, welcoming, and we would be willing to sit and talk, and they must sit and talk and to do it. However, if they think that the divine power has picked them to rule over the people of Afghanistan, it's unacceptable. So the resistance front is solely after uh, establishing a life, a government, and a state which is worthy of the people of Afghanistan, which is accountable to the world and to the people of Afghanistan, which is also decided and elected by the people of Afghanistan. And it wants nothing for itself, not a part for itself, not a part for myself. I'm not struggling for myself or to find a place or a position for myself. It is just solely that the people are responsible. Right now, the Taliban are accountable to no one.
What would you say right now? If what is your ask from the national resistance from Afghanistan to America to the international community?
Well, do not forget Afghanistan. The debacle of Afghanistan was the main reason for the situation in Ukraine. And we thought that by basically getting away from Afghanistan, the problem would leave us. Or by, for example, forgetting about this threat or situation of Afghanistan, we will save a couple of billions annually. But we see that the catastrophe that it brought, the situation, the problems, and now we need to spend much more than that just to prevent another catastrophe that a lot of people are being and are suffering. Beside the fact that the people of Afghanistan are suffering, all those values that we were preaching to them, we just abandoned it immediately, and we made them feel like they're all alone. So my message or my thing was my proposal or my suggestion would be that not forget Afghanistan. Let's stand for the values that the founding fathers of America they stand for. Let's stand for the values that we have been preaching to the people of Afghanistan for the past 20 years. Let's stand for what we truly say, which is providing an elected government for the people of Afghanistan. And let's help the people of Afghanistan because they are not willing and they are not ready to give up on the values that we have been preaching to them for 20 years, from freedom to justice to democracy to women's right to human's right and to all of these values. I'm not asking for any military support. I'm not asking for any military help. But what I'm asking is for a genuine attention to situation of Afghanistan and political support to people of Afghanistan, finding political solution for the situation of Afghanistan, forcing politically or any other measures of bringing the Taliban on the negotiation table and talk, and helping us to start a national dialogue to solve the problem. Unfortunately, it is something which has not happened. It is something by the unconditional announcement of the withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan we might have actually have a chance for peace uh, and for Afghanistan to finally see a result of peace. But unfortunately, the unconditional announcement of withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan completely took that chance away. So therefore, uh, now we recommend the America to stand for the values that is very, very, very much important. It is the core foundation of America. It is the core foundation of the belief of the founding fathers of America. So therefore, it is very important for us to understand this and to stand on that. Otherwise, if we abandon our friends, Afghanistan was the most important strategic partner of America outside NATO, and just to abandon it like that. Imagine how Ukraine would feel, how the other country would feel, how many other countries which they're not a part of NATO they would feel, how even some members of the NATO would feel. That doesn't matter what we do. Doesn't matter how many security agreements we sign with America. When if it's not in their favor, they just leave us. So therefore, I believe it's very important to steal the stand, with Afghanistan, stand with the people of Afghanistan, and not forget their friends.
Does the National Resistance Front have does it have the numbers to be able to defeat the Taliban? Do you see a defeat for the Taliban in the future?
One thing is that our struggle and our resistance, it is not uh, for defeating, but it is for establishing peace. It is for establishing a legitimate government. Even if the Taliban are willing to join, we are willing to forgive everything, and we are willing to sit and talk and speak. As of now, no, because I always speak honestly. No, we do not possess the capacity. Why? Because we do not possess the $85 billion of resources. Because we do not possess the sort of the international support that Ukraine has. We do not possess a lot of things. It is a movement in its infancy. It is a movement which just started out of the desperation of people of Afghanistan for what they truly believe and well, against oppression. So therefore, as of now, no. But with slightest support, we would be able to bring Taliban on negotiation table. We would be the sort of the deterrence force. We would be that sort of the pressure point to make the Taliban to come and sit and talk. Some might think that, well, the Taliban didn't talk for the past 26 years. Why would they talk now? Because now they have something to lose, first and foremost. Second, now the people in the past 1 years, they know that the governing is not easy. Capturing something is easy, holding on to it is not. So therefore, they should know that by now the people are not happy, that the people do not want it, and that Afghanistan belongs to all of Afghanistan, and we need to form a government which represents all. And beside all of that, many of the country which they saw the presence of international forces in Afghanistan a threat, that no longer exists. So therefore, right now, many of the country in the region also would be willing to, to participate in forming or helping or playing a constructive role in forming a government, which we did not have it before.
Are you seeing members of the Taliban defect, like some of the local Tajiks? Are they defecting to the resistance or leaving the Taliban? Once the people, are they?
A lot, not just the Tajik or Uzbek or Hazara, but a lot of even Pashtuns who were a part of the Taliban. They are not happy with the current sort of way. They refuse to even fight against us. And the Taliban tried to recruit a lot of the commanders, to bring a lot of commanders. They refused to join, and it was a good sort of sign that even that preaching they did, though, that we fought, this is the holy jihad, this is the this. Now they're like not knowing that it was all a lie. It was not a jihad. It was false. And what they have done was to bring catastrophe and devastation to people of Afghanistan. So yes, there are figures, still not a lot, but there are figures who are not happy with the current situation.
Well, thank you so very much.
Thank you
It's
very
an
much.
honor. Thank you.